Hello, and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight Latino Voices. I'm Joanna Hernandez. Here's what we're looking at.
You have every power to keep all the schools open.
Acero charter schools are at risk of closing despite parent pushback. Chicago school board members are voting on whether to keep them open.
Now they're having a, family member pick them up from school, and the parents are not coming out.
Meanwhile, an arrest outside a local school is the latest action sparking fear among undocumented parents. And Governor Pritzker's budget proposal makes a controversial cut to a health care program for some undocumented adults. And a one-on-one with Chicago Park District Leader Rosa Escareño on why she's stepping down. First off tonight, the CPS board is now planning to save 5 out of 7 charter schools slated for closure. That's after school leaders rejected a plan to save just 4 of the Acero schools, which serve mainly Latino students. The move comes after concerns from families in the Chicago Teachers Union who were pushing to keep the schools open. Let's listen to a bit of the debate.
Because we have to understand that this is a vote between making a financially responsible decision that doesn't have greater effects across the district and saves some of these schools, or keeping these schools open at the cost of teachers and staff jobs in millions of dollars.
What families need is for this board and CPS to keep their promise, to keep these communities whole, to keep these schools open, and to give these students the education they deserve.
Our reporter Matt Masterson joins us now with more on the decision. Matt, this seemed like a really long board meeting. We want to start off. We reported before that the schools are facing closures because of declining enrollment and increasing cost. What options have school leaders considered to manage these challenges?
So from Acero, the charter network's perspective, they haven't done too much. They say that these closures are necessary for exactly those reasons: declining enrollment, increasing facility management, and improvement costs that are necessary to keep these schools viable. CPS has pitched a few different items here, trying to keep some of the schools open, or possibly all the schools open. They've said some of them could be maintained as they are. Some of them could be absorbed and become Chicago Public School district-run schools as opposed to charter schools. And they've pitched varying numbers that would be viable for that: 4 schools, 5 schools, or the board back in December approved a resolution, which was amended today, seeking to save all 7 of those schools. But that was, again, pared down to just 5 today.
And the district was voting on whether, like as you mentioned, planning on closing 3 schools instead of 2. Why this change?
Yeah, so going into today, the plan was to save 4 of these schools and close 3 of them. That's what the language in this said. There was a late amendment added by the board as they were voting on this that tried to save 1 more of the school. And this isn't fully binding. They can go back and revise this further, but the plan now is that these 5 schools will be maintained beyond this current school year. CPS has said that their analysis has shown that they can't legally fund all 7 of these schools. That's why they decided to pare it down from all 7. They said charter law doesn't allow them to provide the funding that would be necessary to keep all of these schools open, and they can't go beyond that limit. So that's part of what the discussion was today, was trying to figure out how far they can go in saving as many of these schools as possible.
And as we know, this has been an emotional roller coaster for parents and staff. Now, there were 2 schools that are at risk of closing. Are there plans to transition those students affected by those closures?
Yes, assuming these schools are closed at the end of the year as is planned, they could move into other Acero schools, they could move into CPS schools, or they could end up leaving the district. Planning for that has been underway since Acero made this announcement that they plan to close these 7 last year. Families are going to be affected by this. They are going to be notified possibly as soon as tomorrow that their schools plan to be closed, and that CPS is going to provide them with extra guidance. They're going to hold informational meetings trying to understand what options they have available to them going forward.
And it's just switching gears a bit. We also know that ICE detained someone near another Acero school. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so this was yesterday morning. A father was dropping off 2 students near Soto and Idar schools. They're a pair of Acero schools, not the ones that are being closed, but 2 separate ones that are co-located in Gage Park. The father was taken into custody by ICE as he dropped off the kids. The kids themselves were not taken. They were escorted into their respective schools. And ICE later confirmed that this arrest did take place and that this was a father, that he was taken in, to custody around 8:15, that they said that he has been deported twice previously.
Well, thank you, Matt, for your report.
Thanks.
And you can read Matt's full story on our website. It's all at WTTW.com/news. Back right after this.
Chicago Tonight, Latino Voices, is made possible in part by the support of these donors.
As we mentioned earlier, federal immigration agents are confirming they arrested a man outside a Chicago charter school in Gage Park yesterday. The arrest is the latest action sparking fear in immigrant communities across Chicago since the Trump administration's mass deportation efforts began. We spoke with two local families about the risks they face when taking their kids to school.
Pues que dice que los criminales, pero tú no sabes a qué hora va a pasar que esté una persona así y que tú vayas pasando.
To protect their identities, we changed the names of two mothers, sharing their experiences on how life has changed since President Trump began his mass deportation operation.
Pues que dice que los criminales, pero tú no sabes a qué hora va a pasar que esté una persona así y que tú vayas pasando o que por error.
With schools no longer being off limits for immigration enforcement, it leaves undocumented parents like Rosa and Sandra questioning whether to take their children to school.
Pues bien, nos mandaron mensaje de la escuela que pues que no tuviéramos miedo, que estaban seguros ahí, que o sea, por lo que puedan decir, ¿verdad? Pero pues a lo mejor ellos están seguros dentro, pero a nosotros cuando vamos por ellos.
Some parents and staff at Chicago Public Schools have reported an increase in student absences due to fears surrounding ICE. Though a spokesperson for CPS says the district is implementing protocols to support families in case ICE agents appear at schools. However, for mothers like Sandra, who has 4 American citizen children, the thought of leaving her 17-year-old son to care for his siblings has been difficult to accept.
Lo siento como con temor de que algo le pase a sus hermanos si no estamos sus papás. Entonces él piensa como yo los puedo cuidar. Sí, me da mucha tristeza.
With the lack of information on how many people have been detained by ICE, Susana Salgado, the youth director for an immigrant service organization, says the current ICE crackdowns are creating fear and trauma.
It seems like it's a roller coaster because every day we have to wake up to something new. You know, what's happening today? What are we against or what do we need to advocate for?
Centro Romero on the north side of Chicago provides legal services, but has also served as an after-school program for kids. Salgado says they have seen a decline in students attending.
19% of our attendance have decreased because of the fear of coming to a center where, you know, it's an immigrant service organization and then ICE can come in, right? Or, you know, they can be outside waiting for people. So there's a fear among our community.
And it's not like you can tell the parents, you can understand why they're feeling that way.
We understand and we try to educate them about the different things and that it might not happen, you know, here, but and if they will actually come to look for somebody, we're prepared.
Salgado says that fear has created devastating impacts that go far beyond the decline in after-school participation.
I feel scared in a way that it has opened the door for a lot of people to be okay with violence and to be okay with racism. Before, even if my neighbor didn't like me or, you know, he was racist or things like that, he wouldn't express it as much. Right now, I feel that, you know, it's an open door for that.
No human being is illegal is the logo outside the center, a message these two mothers also share.
Saben lo que dicen. No se imaginan cómo es vivir, como dice ella, en una prisión.
O en las sombras,
como en las sombras.
Yo pienso que todos tenemos
derechos,
más porque no haces cosas malas, estás haciendo algo, pues como todas las personas trabajan.
Sí.
For years, advocates have raised questions about the lack of initiatives from the U.S. government to provide a streamlined path to citizenship for families who have spent decades building their lives in the U.S., now living in fear of facing deportation to countries they left behind.
Pero como a las personas que ya tienen muchos años aquí, ya yo pienso que es justo que les den algo porque trabajan y aportan mucho al país y hacen que crezca este país, sino trabajando.
And some older people in Chicago Teachers Union members are calling on CPS to do more to keep schools safe for students and their families. Meanwhile, CPS says it will continue to refrain from collecting information about the immigration status of individual students or their families. Now, a controversial cut to health care coverage for some undocumented individuals was made in Governor J.B. Pritzker's recent budget proposal. The cut impacts undocumented adults ages 42 to 64. However, coverage for those 65 and older will remain intact. The move has sparked backlash from the General Assembly's Latino Caucus, as well as immigrant advocates. Meanwhile, an audit released yesterday shows the program's costs far exceeded initial estimates. Joining us now with more on Zoom are Representative Travis Weaver, a Republican lawmaker from Peoria, and co-chair of the Latino Caucus, State Representative Norma Hernandez, whose district includes the communities of Melrose Park, Franklin Park, and North Lake. Thank you both for joining us. Norma, I want to start with you. You've been a very local supporter, a vocal supporter of the measure. Why do you back these programs?
Yeah, I mean, these programs are so important. Healthcare access is a human right. When this program was created, it was to meet a crisis, right? Essential workers were at the forefront. They were dying at higher rates. And this was a way for us to bring people the right to access to healthcare where it's not going to put them in debt or deter them from getting the health care services that they need. And I believe that cutting that program is taking us away from the conversation of universal healthcare. We shouldn't be, and on top of that, it actually costs the state more money to treat people who are sicker. So taking away that preventative measure, access to care would really harm not only the individuals that are enrolled in this program, it's a little over 32,000 people, but it will also cause, issues to the safety net hospitals, Cook County Hospital, all of the FQHC hospitals across the state. So this is going to really impact, and people will continue to be sick. They will continue to go to the ER, and that will cost both the patient and the hospitals more money.
And Travis, you don't support the measure. Why?
Yeah, that's right. I've been against this program from the very start. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. You think about Illinoisans that are here legally, Illinois citizens, they don't get free healthcare. I don't think it makes a lot of sense that we would give free healthcare to people who are here illegally. But besides the merits of the program, now that we have this audit finding, I think it needs to be cut immediately at all levels. I think the governor has known about this for a while, and that's why he didn't include it in his budget proposal. But when you see things like 7,000 recipients have a Social Security number, they lied and shouldn't have ever been in the program. Another 700 enrolled were in the seniors program, and the audit showed that they were actually under 65. They should have never been in the program. Another 500 double dipped in multiple programs, and another 400 have been here for over 5 years, so they should have been in Medicaid. I think the governor knew that this was really the Titanic of programs. He should have shut it down as soon as he knew that. I don't know when that was, but clearly it was before the State of the State budget address. Yet here we are continuing to spend money on a program that we know is ripe with waste, fraud, and abuse.
Norma, what are your thoughts on what Travis is commenting, what he's saying?
Yeah, I mean, I disagree with him. I think that we do have checks and balances, which is why this audit was created. And this gave the governor's office and their team a way to develop new measures to kind of make this program less costly. For example, they shrunk the program, right? They eliminated parts of that where they added redetermination. They've also have been able to get federal, match dollars for this, along with pausing the programs for new applicants to enroll and removing LPRs, which are legal permanent residents, who now qualify for marketplace insurance. And I think that we also have to be mindful that this was a very new program that was developed first in the nation, right? Leading healthcare access across the country for all. And people who have legal status here also have different forms of Medicaid options that qualify. This program also had its restrictions. It wasn't available to just everyone. So we have to talk about that in that context, because there was measures taken to make this program more affordable where it doesn't impact our GRF as much, right? But there is a reality that this population specifically does contribute to our economy greatly, where we will not survive without this population. And there is another reality that healthcare is a human right, and we should not be moving in the direction.
And Travis, how do you address the concerns of? Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know that anything I really said is anything that can be disagreed with. I'm just quoting numbers directly from the audit finding. We found tremendous waste and fraud and abuse within this program. For example, in 2023, the estimated cost of it was $220 million. The actual cost of it was $645 million. That's a 290% spending overrun on the program. I think we've known that there's been waste, fraud, and abuse in this for a while. That's why we get that cost overrun. And furthermore, you think about a program that's cost Illinois $1.6 billion, a lot of that on fraud, but still $1.6 billion price tag. I mean, wow, just imagine what we could have done for Illinoisans in terms of tax cuts and property tax
And Travis,
relief.
I want to bring up another question.
And paying down debt.
I want to bring up another question. You know, how do you address the concerns of immigrant advocacy groups that say this cut will leave tens of thousands without essential Medicare?
Well, what I would say to that is that there's Illinoisans that are facing a similar challenge, and I'm a strong believer that we need to be focusing on Illinois citizens. I don't believe that people are illegal, but I believe that people do illegal things. And the reality is we've got to be focusing our attention on Illinois citizens. And when you see a bill of $1.6 billion, look, Illinois families have to budget themselves. They can't spend more than they take in. Here in the state of Illinois, we spend more than we take in. That's why there was debt and gimmicks in the governor's budget proposal. And so I think that we got to tighten the belt. And part of that means that we need to cut programs that aren't focusing on Illinoisans that are full of waste, fraud, and abuse.
And Norma, you did mention, as we know, that undocumented individuals do pay taxes. You know, why do you think people should care about the well-being of non-citizens?
Because it impacts us if we don't care for them or if we do. This program was supported by hospital professionals, healthcare professionals, and advocacy groups. And we all know that if you provide someone healthcare, especially early on, preventative care, will actually save the state money over time. And it's also a humane thing to do. We have to remember that when this all got started, this was during the pandemic, when folks of this population were dying at higher rates, we were meeting a crisis. And when you meet a crisis, you tend to overspend because that is a reality of when that crisis exists. And if we don't take care of our neighbors' health, it does impact our own health, and it impacts our entire society because we interact with all of these systems. And when we work together to actually find a solution, this was a way that we were able to get a collaborative decision from multiple members and to figure out this issue where people were dying, they didn't have access to basic treatment and healthcare, and we needed to meet those needs. We had ARPA funds that were there as well, and we were able to develop a program that met those needs during those times. And given the amount that, because clearly more people were enrolled, that also should signal the red flag that there is a really high need here. And why are we not moving towards a direction where universal healthcare access should be our biggest fight right now? Why are we allowing corporations, companies to overcharge us where this country, which is the richest country in the world, still cannot provide access to healthcare to everyone?
And Travis, we only have a couple seconds. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I would just say I think it's ridiculous to say that just because I don't agree with this proposal means that I don't care about immigrants, that I don't care about people. You know, when people are getting raped and sex trafficked at the border, or we have fentanyl pouring across our borders, I don't blame the other side and say that they're heartless. I think we have a disagreement of opinion, of priorities, and I definitely care about people. I'm a Christian man. I believe in my Christian values. So I don't think that that's very fair. I do think that we need to prioritize Illinois citizens. We need to relieve our tax burden. We need to leave Illinois in a better place than we found it so that the next generation can be prosperous here.
Well, thank you both. We have to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thanks for the time.
Thanks.
Up next, a one-on-one with the Chicago Park District CEO who announced her resignation just yesterday. After a career spanning more than 30 years in 5 mayoral administrations at City Hall, Chicago Park District leader Rosa Escareño is stepping down from public life. Escareño announced her resignation from the Park District yesterday, and she's the latest city leader in recent weeks for Mayor Brandon Johnson's administration to resign. And joining us now is Superintendent Rosa Escareño. Thank you so much. It's so funny that we're both matching in pink today.
Slightly different.
Slightly different shades of pink, but there we are.
But we look fabulous.
So I need to ask, as we know, as I just mentioned, your work spans all the way back to the 90s. You served more than 3 years now as Park District Superintendent. What made you decide that this was the time to step down?
Well, you know, first of all, I am so privileged to be given the opportunity to serve Chicagoans every day in the city that I love. But it's the right time because when I came to the district, I set very clear goals for myself, and I have reached the goals that I set for myself. There is so much more work to do to improve this city and to improve the district, but I feel that this is the right time as I've hit the goals that I have set.
We'll talk about those goals, but I first want to ask, at an event earlier this month, Mayor Johnson said he should have clean house faster, and if you ain't with us, you just gotta go. 3 members of the Mayor Johnson's cabinet have since resigned. Did the mayor's comments factor anything with your decision to step down?
Not at all. You know, again, this has been about serving the public. And, you know, I've always been very clear about my intentions. And so, no, not at all. This is something that has been a conversation for way before that.
And you talked about your accomplishments and your mission. You know, what would you say have been your top accomplishments?
Well, number one, you know, when I was asked to come to the district, I was facing a big crisis with the district, probably the largest sexual harassment and misconduct matter to face the district. I came in with a very clear purpose, and then also, while I was asked to stay shortly after I started there as an interim, we were also facing the reopening of COVID pandemic. I know this seems like so long ago, but really getting all services across 600 parks. I mean, we're the 3rd largest district.
Looking back at that, how challenging was that?
I don't even remember because it was such a challenging time. So we're dealing with this, you know, crisis, making sure that we're building and restoring trust, but building a district that really ensures safety and holds people accountable, while at the same time ramping up, reopening the parks, bringing back 3,000 workers, and making sure that the residents have all the services that they need after being closed. So, you know, that first year was incredible, but I now, you know, I've put safeguards in place. We have the Office of Prevention and Accountability, holding people accountable and really building that safety net for our patrons, our residents, and our staff. But then also reopening. We're back to pre-pandemic levels. And my 3rd goal was really to set the district on a path towards the future. Just launching our strategic plan, and now that's not fully implemented, but fully started. Yeah. And so hopefully the next person can carry that on.
And you've also been very outspoken about providing work opportunities for youth. Why was that so important for you?
Well, again, I don't know if people realize, but we're 3,000 strong throughout the year, and then we're 3,700 opportunities that we just opened up the application for young people to come work at the district throughout the summer. So when you see summer day camp, or when you see kids, you know, out in the parks helping us to manicure our trees and our gardens, these are 3,700 young people that we hire right now. We're hiring, and that we get them onboarded every year. And so that really is one of my proudest moments in being part of young people's lives. I was a park kid, and it brings me great pleasure to know that we're building careers for these young people.
You have a teenage son yourself, right?
I do. He's a 18-year-old. He thinks he's an adult now, but these are critical years for our young people. And we are the largest agency employing youth in the city. And so we are happy to contribute.
That's something I can imagine you're proud of.
Oh, absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
I want to talk about the use of public parks for large events and festivals, like Riot Fest has been an ongoing debate. There's been some changes in an effort to make the permitting process more transparent. Do you think those changes go far enough?
Look, we're serving the public. We have to constantly revisit our policies and our initiatives. But I think we've come a long way. We've definitely included more community participation, and I know that many festivals are contributing to actually our ability to run a district. Those revenues go right back into service delivery for the people that we serve.
What advice would you give to the next superintendent?
You know, I think it was interesting, I came in with a mission of, and what I'm walking away is such love for the parks. They're going to immediately fall in love with this organization. Our purpose to be an anchor of community and to really be the safety net and the beauty of the city. When the city was recently announced as being the most beautiful city in the world, what they actually initially flagged is all the beauty around it, which is all our green space and beautiful programs.
You know, looking back at your career and then being appointed as CEO of the Chicago Park District, did you ever think that you were going to be in charge of such a massive
No.
operation
Well, and
that has
you
to do
know,
with parks?
And being a park kid myself, I would have never imagined an immigrant kid coming into this country.
As a Latina.
As a Latina in the city. I would have never imagined that I would have this opportunity. That's why it brings me such joy. I'm so proud of my team, working with my board to really make sure that we're doing everything to serve people.
And before we head out, we only have a couple seconds, but I have to ask, what's next for you?
For me, I need a break. I need some time off, my son, and I need to spend time with my family. And my son is about to graduate high school in June.
He's off to college.
So yes, so we're getting ready for that, and I do not want to miss one moment of that.
Well, thank you so much. Good luck on your next chapter.
Thank you so much.
And that's our show for this Thursday night. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 7 for the Weekend Review. Now, from all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Joanna Hernandez. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and healthy. Good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a Chicago personal injury and wrongful death firm that is proud to be a multilingual law firm that provides translators for a variety of languages.